Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that. But don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's a new week of CinemAddicts. This is CinemAddicts episode 348. Me and Eric and Bruce, we're covering movies that are coming out or being released the week of Friday, June 12th, 2026. These movies might be coming out on Friday. They might be released on VOD. There might be just a whole bunch of hodgepodge of material. Eric has a couple of recommendations for movies that are on video on demand, which is good. There's a movie called Purkey. I'm excited to hear him talk about because it stars a actor that Eric and I both love, and I'm assuming Bruce loves. His name's Stephan James. We love Stephan James. We just went on YouTube right now to figure out how to, I thought it was Stephen James or Stephen James, but it's Stephan James. Just saw that on YouTube. It's the things you and I learn every day, Eric Holmes. We should be learning here on CinemAddicts a little bit, right?
Yeah, learning's always a good thing.
I haven't tried it yet. I'm almost 54. I think I'm going to try to learn something every day. I don't know if that'll work out. What do you think?
Let me be more specific. I've heard that learning is a good thing.
You've heard, okay.
I've not tried learning either, but hey, maybe we'll learn how to learn, and that'll be a thing we can do.
Eric, I think based on your intelligence and my intelligence, our collective intelligence, learning,
trouble. I know.
Learning is a rumor. Learning is a rumor to both of us. Thankfully, Bruce Purkey is a very enlightened part of CinemAddicts. He will be doing cinematic in about, 20, 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And he has a lot to cover this week. The movies he will be reviewing include Amores Perros. It's a classic movie. I believe it's going to be either streaming or coming out via movie this week. I'll have more information on that on the show notes, but Bruce Purkey has a review of Amores Perros, and he also has a review of this very interesting comedy, which comes out Friday, June 12th, called Stop That Train. He is a fan of the RuPaul universe, the drag extravaganza. I saw Stop That Train as well. I really enjoyed it, spoiler alert, but I'll let Bruce Purkey take over the reins and do that review. But then Eric Holmes has a really interesting movie this week called The Furious. So yeah, find your friends, The Furious, This Tempting Madness, Amores Perros, and Stop That Train. There's about 5 movies that we're covering this week. A lot of stuff to cover, Eric Holmes. So yeah, I am trying to sound very chipper because we're going to get some value added stuff for you guys. Some of the movies I'm going to review, I'm going to tell you right now, life is very short. All right. Maybe it's a very transitory thing that I'm going to do this week, but I am going to lay the hammer down on the movies I'm reviewing. The movies I'm reviewing are This Tempting Madness and also Find Your Friends. I am always congenial or friendly Greg Srisavasdi, but I think as of late, I am sharpening my knives a little bit because I am realizing, I don't know if I'm taking it the right way, but life is too short, Eric Holmes. I want our listeners to get as many good movies as possible under the sun. What about you, Eric? Are you very strict with your reviews? How have you been approaching your reviews as of late? Or maybe you've always approached it the same way.
So this is always approached on the same way. Actually, speaking of life is short, we did have a tragedy we should probably bring up. There was a lot of our listeners know Mitch Burns, and if you listen to Film Vault, you definitely know who Mitch Burns is. And he left this mortal coil as we're recording this. Was it 2 days ago?
A couple of days ago, yes.
Yeah, he similar to my brother. He took his own life, and that I don't know. It's impossible to say why because they're gone. And you can't ask him. I think he lost his mom and had some issues with depression. I'm guessing was having trouble with something, and felt that was his way out. It's a family show, but it really effing sucks. Mitch was a complete sweetheart. I was supposed to meet him in person, and I saw you when it came out for Film Vault's live show. And Mitch was supposed to come out. He was like having trouble getting out there. It's going to be too expensive. Like, just get out there. Don't worry about it because we got the Airbnb and you stay with us.
Yeah, he's over in Canada. That's why, I guess, right? He's over on
Canada. Yeah, he lives up in Canada. And from what he was saying, where he lived, it was basically a road trip just to get to the airport to be able to fly out here. It was like a whole thing. He ended up not being able to come out. And so I was like, oh, maybe next time. And there's no next time. So yeah, we've been on the show before. We've done recorded some stuff before. I made
You and
that
Bruce
film.
have. You and Bruce have. I have not. I apologize just for not being part of that Mitch Burns universe. Mitch Burns too. I'm just sorry for butting in, Eric. He
Oh yeah,
was
go for it.
also he's also a podcaster, and he had two podcasts, The Film Vaulters, which had him actually interviewing people in the Film Vault universe because he loved that show that so much that he created his own podcast called The Film Vaulters, and he had people from TFV on it. Second one he created was the Hollywood Persona, which had him and his podcast co-host, I believe his name's Ant. They would review a bunch of movies. And yeah, and what's interesting is I didn't mention this to Mitch, but I wanted to give props to Mitch for creating two podcasts just on his own, because as a person who's created two podcasts with Eric and Bruce, with Cinematics and Find Your Film, I felt a kinship to him in that manner. But anyways, Eric, what else do you want to say about Mitch? And I apologize for
Oh,
interrupting you.
oh yeah, no, it's good. Don't apologize for interrupting me to talk about Mitch. Never.
Oh, okay, yes.
Anytime you want to talk about Mitch is a good thing. And this comes on the heels of William Lindus passing away as well. It's just, I don't know, it sucks. I guess we're just getting at that age where people start leaving us for one reason or another. But another thing we did with Mitch was that there was that film ball game that I made. And then me and Mitch and Ant, and then we brought some other people in. But Mitch was instrumental in putting those. We put a couple of those videos of us playing the film ball game. That was fun. Mitch was a complete sweetheart, much like William. Just great guy. Absolutely loved him. And yeah, it was just bad news. I was actually working at Toki, one of the places I run karaoke, and I saw my phone was blowing up. And I don't mess with my phone because I'm on doing the mixing and doing the show.
Why would you? You should not be looking at your phone while you're doing that, right?
But it kept seeing that I kept getting a lot more messages than normal.
Yeah.
And then someone was doing, I think Piano Man, or it was either Piano Man or the Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody. It was a long song they were doing. And the person singing was good, so I didn't have to constantly ride the volume button or whatever. So they knew what they were doing. I'm like, I got to see what this is. I go outside, and then I look down, and it was like just devastating news about Mitch. And then that's all I needed to know. I'm like, I'll read the rest of this later. And knowing that he's had issues with depression in the past, it's hard to get that kind of news and go back in. All right, that was Singing Piano Man. Next up, it was not
Or
fun.
it's one of those things where if you put on your fake voice, like I do with Cinematics, hey everybody, or your DJ voice, hey, it's Eric Holmes, or whatever your nickname is on Toki, right? Do you have a nickname? Do you have a nickname?
Karaoke guy, Eric.
What about DJ Doom, DJ Movie Man? I don't know. You have
DJ Doom, Jesus.
No, or you could be Jesus. Who knows? Jesus Holmes. That's a nice thing. But the thing about transitions is I can put on the reason why we can do this thing and do a podcast voice or a DJ voice. For me, I like to bury myself in artifice and movies and imagination and fantasy, and what people like William Lindus and Mitch Burns taught me, that as great as movies are, it's yeah.
And then, like with Mitch taking his life, and then my brother taking his life just a few months ago. I mean, you can say till you're blue in the face if you're feeling a certain way, talk to someone. But
It's tough. It's tough because
you can say that, but I think if you're in the moment, and again, they're gone, so we can't ask them what they were feeling when they finally decided to do what they did. But you can say till you're blue in the face, people aren't going to do it. But just know that if you're feeling that the world is better off without you,
yeah. Well,
it's not. It's not. It's worse without you. It's
I'll
a
tell
lot
you-
more painful without you. It's much more sad without you, and we all miss you. So if you're thinking of doing that, just don't. But that's the thing about depression. It's a disease.
Yeah.
We couldn't tell Will, call someone. Don't die from pancreatic cancer. That's not a thing you can do.
Right.
It's a mental disease, and it overtakes you, and it sucks.
Yeah. Well, thanks for butting.
What can you do? But Mitch was a great guy, and we're gonna miss him. And
yeah, there's two times. Thanks for butting in, Eric, because I was going to break down in a second. And I'll tell you, there's two times I pretty much broke down. There's one time.
I should have let you broke down. We could see some humanity from you for a change.
Well, I don't know if that would equate with humanity, but maybe halfway humanity. But years ago, I did get teary-eyed over Petite Maman. And that movie, I love that movie so much. We all loved it on Cinematics. It's on Criterion now. And Mitch, what was so great is on one of the Christmases, he realized how much I love Petite Maman, and he mailed a copy of it, the Criterion sealed copy of Petite Maman, over here in LA just as a Christmas present. And I'll tell you, I really did appreciate that from Mitch. And the thing is, people like Mitch, and when he okay, sorry folks, he started our Cinematics Movie Club, and the reason why he started it was he wanted to share his love for movies with fellow cinematics, with fellow moviegoers, with fellow cinephiles, and there was no catch to it. There was no monetization scheme. Right now on our Cinematics Movie Club, there are 17 members, including me, Eric, and Bruce. And hopefully, I know this sounds either sentimental or morbid, William, Lindus, and Mitch Burns are members of that movie club. Mitch did not ask for any type of money or monetization. He was only doing it because he wanted to share it with us. And yeah.
Yeah, when he was doing the stuff for Film Vault, it was Anderson. Brian could speak more to this, and I'm sure they will. They briefly mentioned it on this week's Film Vault, but I think when they were recording, like they were just hearing about it, and it was like a thing on the Reddit thread. So is this just a bad joke, or is this it? They didn't talk too much about it because I think similar to what I was thinking initially, it was like that someone said it was on Reddit, and I was like, oh, this is just a bad joke. Mitch will come out and say, no, I'm alive and this is all fine. And then I saw the Reddit thread and, oh no, it's Ant that wrote it. So Ant's a good guy. He's not going to F around with that. So,
yeah.
but I'm sure they'll talk about it more on Film Vault once next episode, maybe. But
well, again,
and according to the movie club Facebook thing, and I guess they're going to keep it going.
Yeah.
In honor of Mitch. So,
yeah. Well, we're going to keep our Cinematics Movie Club. We want, I think, in honor of Mitch and in his memory. Well, the great thing, everyone has their theory and whatnot on the afterlife or whether all that stuff. Everyone, different strokes for different folks. But for me, Mitch's memory continues to live on for the stuff that we do for the Cinematics Movie Club. You and I, when we talked about William Lindus's passing a couple of weeks ago, I saw that how much I see William Lindus as a movie reviewer and as a person, as a North Star. I always looked up to William. Rest in peace, William Lindus. And I always looked up to Mitch Burns for not just his movie knowledge, but just the way, to be honest, I am neither me nor Eric or Bruce are his family members, but I know I think I hazard to guess, and it's an accurate guess, just from the way he treated us and other people in cinematics, that he always wanted to put other people first. And yeah, mental health is definitely a thing. It's one of these things personally I'm trying to deal with myself. And after all these years, I realized, Eric, so here's the thing, just to tie into this, and I don't know if it's a tie-in. I was in the garage and I found one of the first articles I wrote for the UCLA Daily. And it was an article, and it was just this old article I did on this actress named Mariel Hemingway. Mariel Hemingway, she started in Manhattan, but she started in this movie called Falling from Grace. That was the article that I wrote back in 1992. So I've been doing this, Eric, for about 34 years. And going back to mental health, I love movies. Like Mitch, you and Bruce, we all love movies. But there's a thing where sometimes I've lived my entire life thinking that, oh, it's just me in movies. It's just me in movies. I could be this person and just watch movies and and please leave me alone while I watch all my movies. But people like William and Mitch help bring me out of my shell. And of course, like you, I don't know about you and Bruce, you guys do a decent enough job bringing me out of my shell, but those guys, I think you can attest to this. Rest in peace to both of them. They're just great guys and knowledgeable, and I love them both. So.
Just one last thing before and we're not going to move on from Mitch.
One last thing. No, I canceled this.
Mitch is going to be brought up often, I imagine.
Eric, I canceled this episode. We're not going to talk about any movies. We're just going to talk about Mitch and William the rest of this.
I'm cool with that. Hey, Curious, really good. Find Your Friends, not so much.
Not so much. Okay.
Ricky,
Spoilers. Yeah.
really good.
Here's a spoiler. Don't see Find
No,
Your Friends. Okay. Spoiler.
but Angie hit me up, and Angie
Angie
Clark hit
Clark.
me
Yeah.
up, and I'm not going to give away Angie's story. You can find her, find her in Cinematics, and maybe she'll share it there. But she shared one of the last exchanges she had with Mitch through Messenger, like a private message that she had with Mitch. And first of all, Angie's a complete sweetheart. And if we're going to give praise on someone that's still alive, Angie's definitely worthy of that. And
Sure.
but
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
she sent me a screenshot of the last exchange she had with Mitch and just really illustrated how much of an absolute gem of a human Mitch was.
Mhm.
And so if she wants to share that, she can. If not, she didn't have to. But I just wanted to put that out there. And anyone that knew Mitch, I'm sure you've had a similar exchange with them. But
Yeah. Just a little bit of shopkeep for the CinemAddicts Movie Club. Again, started by Mitch Burns. William Lindus was a member as well. The next couple of weeks, we will be watching movies from both William Lindus and Mitch Burns. I still have to get through Seven Samurai. That's William Lindus's one of his
all
favorite
seven of
movies.
them?
All
I've
seven
only
of the
watched the
samurais.
first one.
Well, yeah, go. Have you ever seen Seven Samurai, Eric?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that? Okay. So that's one of William Lindus's favorite movies. I'm going to tackle that probably this weekend. And then Mitch Burns, he had a whole bunch of favorite movies from Letterboxd. One of his favorite movies is Into the Wild. I think one of the other ones is Alien. I'm going to do a rewatch of Alien in honor of Mitch. But then I think for Into the Wild, there is a line I think that really sums up with, not sum it up, just reminds me of Mitch. And it's that line from Into the Wild where it goes, quote, happiness is only real when shared. And I think one of the things that I love about Mitch is he wanted to make sure everyone was happy and in a good place. And I hope you're in a great place, Mitch. I love you very much. So, all right. Now, the rest of the movies, this is a horrible transition. Don't see any of the movies we're talking about right now. You guys can shut out the show. Thank you guys so much
Except
for
the
supporting
Furious
Cinematics. Is
and
that right?
Ricky.
Oh, Bruce. What about Bruce? Do they listen to Cinematic? Do people listen to Bruce Purkey? Or do they
No,
just fast forward?
no, they skip right to Bruce. They probably
Oh,
heard this part because they wanted to hear us talk about
of
Mitch.
course.
But now, hey guys, we're done. You skip right to Bruce right now.
Okay, well, I think Eric Holmes is correct. Let's get into our horrible transition. We love you, William Molinas. We love you, Mitch Burns. And I know both of you guys up there, wherever you are, love movies. Let's get to movies. Where do you want to start off first, Eric Holmes? You're always the boss. You handle things very well when it comes to movies we need to review.
Greg, I've been waiting for months now to talk about this movie, Furious.
Oh, okay. So The Furious, I'm not going to blow anyone's spot. Here's the thing. Eric Holmes, I think there's about 600 people in The Furious, and there are at least 600 more interviews that I have to upload from Eric Holmes because he interviewed a lot of people from this movie. He's very excited about The Furious. All I'm going to do is I'm going to read this plot synopsis, Eric, and you're going to go off and do your review. Quote, The Furious follows a simple tradesman who fights his way through a complex web of criminals and evil agents in a frantic attempt to win back his kidnapped daughter by any means necessary. I believe co-star Joe Taslim also stars as a journalist who teams up with this tradesman. That is The Furious. I don't even know if that's accurate. Eric Holmes, take it away.
Yeah, Xiao Miao is the main guy. His daughter gets kidnapped and he chases them down. There's this wonderful chase when in this garbage truck sort of thing. And his daughter's in a bag or trash bag or whatever, and they throw him in there. It's basically Taken. Someone takes your daughter, and then the person whose daughter they took is not to be effed with, because Xiao Miao plays Wang, and he doesn't talk. It's been a while since I don't know if there was a reason that he didn't talk, but his character just doesn't talk. But he does end up meeting up with Navin, played by Joe Taslim, at some point, and they work with each other to find his daughter. And I believe Navin's. Oh, that's right. It opens with a whole scene about someone that was close to Navin also went missing. So they're working together to find their loved ones from this gang. And that's pretty much the story. It keeps it pretty simple. And then the fight scenes and the action scenes are amazing. I think I've compared it to like better Taken. And I love Taken. I think the first one, the rest of them are whatever. But the first, this is like Taken but better. And then we, of course, got The Raid as an obvious comparison as far as the action goes. I would say if you like The Raid and you like Taken, there's no way you wouldn't love The Furious. This movie's awesome. The fight choreography's just fantastic. The way they shoot the action is chef's kiss. I talked to one of the producers and Bill Kong, and he was mentioning how when they set out to make the movie, they wanted to make the ultimate action movie. Let's throw everything at this movie to make this one of the best action movies, and I think they succeeded. You know,
That's saying a lot. One of the
uh,
best action movies you come on.
yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
guys nailed it. No notes,
Oof.
6.9 all the way.
Okay.
And if you disagree, hey, you're entitled to be wrong. It's fine.
So it is one of the best action movies you've seen within the last couple of years, maybe, Eric?
Oh yeah, by a lot.
Oh, all right. Okay. Would you watch it again? Does it have high rewatchability factor as well?
Mhm. Oh, I have.
Oh, you have seen it a
Not
couple.
as many as I would have liked because there's other movies I got to watch, and of course, Project Hail Mary's out, so that's the only movie I'm watching now.
What about Psycho Killer? Come on. Did you get your own digital copy of Psycho Killer?
I might have snuck Psycho Killer in there once or twice. But no, The Furious, and I believe it's coming out in theaters. I don't know how wide the release is, but I've been seeing a bunch of reviews on this pop up, so I'm guessing it might. I wonder if this is gonna be like a Sisu thing, because like when we got Sisu, like
Hmm.
we watched it and it's like, oh, this movie's rad. I hope people watch it, and it just kind of. When it came out, people paid attention. People were watching it. I'm hoping this does that same thing, and it seems like it might be doing that. So yeah, if the Furious is playing in your area, go check it out. You will not be disappointed. Even
Okay.
a midnight showing, going super tired, and I dare you to fall asleep. I don't think you'll be able to. You can try. You
Oh,
can try, but
that's.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I can't even imagine how good the Furious will look at your local Cineplex. It might be
Oh
really, really
God, it's gonna
cool.
be so good.
Well,
Yeah, because it's like the fighting in it. Yeah, the raid's the
no,
obvious comparison for this.
okay. Joe Taslim, when you interviewed him, he was mentioning about how there's a lot of judo because he's a judoka. So
Yeah.
he was saying that hopefully more people will watch it and love judo. Did you see a lot of judo elements in the Furious or
I'm not familiar enough with martial arts to be
well,
able to
fair?
distinguish between the different fighting styles. I
Right.
know that Steven Seagal just stands there and has people flip around him when they get close for some reason. But other than that, yeah, I'm not the guy to ask about that.
Hey, I don't
As
mind.
much as I love action movies and I love fighting, if I watch the thing is, I can watch two different fighting styles in a movie, like a character employing a certain different fighting style, and I can recognize that style's different than what that character is doing, but I wouldn't know what to call it.
All right. Well, if you need anything, if you need some knowledge on the martial arts, just come to me because
Okay.
I'm Asian. I just
Jeez.
no, I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I'm almost as lost as Eric, but I think because of the Taslim interview, I will see if there's any judo stuff, and it'd be interesting. It'd be let us know. Let us know about the fighting styles for people who are more experienced in the martial arts forms. What did you think of the actual fighting style? Eric already loved it. 6.9
Yeah.
stars in classic. So let's see
There's
what you
a
think.
Yeah, I got a couple interviews. I think they were already released for this, or maybe some of them. I don't know.
I've only
Um,
released Taslim.
yeah,
There's a couple of
my review will continue in the interview because I pretty much geek out as soon as I start talking to him. I was like, dude, this movie's awesome, and I stand by that. The Furious is
awesome.
it, if you don't check this out, I will be furious at you.
Very good.
Yeah, if you don't,
Again,
hey, if you don't want to watch it, that's your loss. Nothing
all
to do with
right.
me.
All right, that is The Furious 6.9 stars from Eric Holmes in theaters. Check your local listing Friday, June 12th. Next up is this movie called This Tempting Madness. It's a psychological thriller inspired by a true story. It centers on this woman named Mia, played by Simone Ashley. She awakens from a coma and she's injured because at the beginning of the movie you see her falling down maybe an escalator or somewhere in a building and you hear a crunch and it's gross to hear because it's not a good look. When she wakes up, she's in a coma, her jaw's not aligned, she looks all beat up, her memory is fractured. As she puts the pieces of her life together, she starts to question her own actions and her perception of reality. The movie is 92 minutes and it co-stars Austin Stowell as her husband who may have pushed her. And they're wondering, is her husband good? Is he not? They have a daughter. Mia is very successful and she's trying to piece together whether or not she should stay away from her husband, or maybe is Mia herself that is she going mad? Was she not a nice person? Did she have anything to do with the actions that occurred? The movie, which is set in Los Angeles, here are the good things. Good cinematography by DP Andrew E. Davis. Solid direction by Jennifer E. Montgomery. I don't know if this is real. I was reading a bunch of reviews that Montgomery and Davis are married. I read a couple of reviews. They're a husband and wife team. I do not know. Don't completely quote me on that, but I was reading some reviews. Okay. And they said as so. I should have done some real due diligence. But if they are a couple, they do a solid job with This Tempting Madness. Biasly, they shot around parts in downtown LA where I used to live. So they're playing, it's a home court advantage type of review for me. I love that. This is LA set. And Simone Ashley, I think she was in Bridgerton, I think. And she is a very good actress. She really carries this movie. You're trying to wonder, because a lot of this movie is set within her perception and her POV. You have to really be locked into her as a person, as an actress, and as a character to find This Tempting Madness an interesting movie. For 92 minutes, it had me intrigued. It was solid enough. Could it have been excellent? Yes. But there is a plot situation that happens within the story that they did not fully flesh out. And I wanted them to flesh, because I know with psychological thrillers, things can be really abstract. They can leave maybe the interpretation to the audience. I understand the viewer. I understand that. But the fact that this major situation in the movie was not fully fleshed out, I think the filmmakers can say, oh, it's because Mia, she's having a fractured reality and she's having amnesia. She doesn't know what's going on. Okay, I get that. But the fact that at the end, even though the main things are solved, we still have a little bit of questions on what actually happened on a pivotal moment. For me, that was tough. I'm not even going to give this 3.5 stars as a solid recommend. Good acting, solid direction, solid DP work. Love the LA setting, but there's a major flaw in this movie. I wanted that moment to be fulfilled. Maybe as a listener, fellow cinephile, you might find that scene that I'm talking about not to be fully fleshed, not as big of a problem as I saw it, but I saw it for me as a problem. So I give it only a slight recommendation. 3 stars for This Tempting Madness in theaters and on demand June 12th. If you are a fan of Simone Ashley, not to worry, she carries the movie. Okay. And again, if you're looking for a beautiful looking psychological thriller in LA, you're going to get that as well. So there are some really good parts of This Tempting Madness. Unfortunately, I'm just going to give it with a slight recommendation of 3 stars. All right, so that is it for This Tempting Madness. Finally, for our featured films, Eric and I
tempted me to want to see it. Like, I'm curious what the thing that they didn't explain was.
Yeah, it's
obviously don't give it away here because it'd be spoiler, but.
Right. Oh, and just remind me at the end of I should do a spoiler for our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. And yes, thank you, Eric, for reminding me on This Tempting Man. I will do a spoiler for our CinemAddicts YouTube channel, and I'll tell you guys what I found very objectionable, at least for me, for This Tempting Madness. It's still an interesting movie. And it, again, like I said, it's on demand. I don't know if they'll have it on Amazon, but if it's on Amazon, I'll leave a link. Some of you guys might like the movie better than me. All right. Now find your friends. This is our last one for our featured movies this week. Doesn't come out in theaters. It does not come out on VOD. But what's good is it comes out on Shudder. So if you have Shudder as a streaming service, that's the good news. Find Your Friends will be in your streaming service on Friday, June 12th. And the movie centers on this young woman named Amber, who's played by Helena Howard. She and her 4 best friends. Her 4 best friends are played by Chloe Cherry, Bella Thorne, Sophia Ali, and Zion Moreno. these five women, young girls, college kids, I think might be college graduates. They go from LA, they travel from LA to Joshua Tree to rent a desert home for the weekend to party and get drunk and hook up. And they also go to a party of a rock star and his group. And they're having a really nice party at that desert home as well. So there are two desert homes, but then also Find Your Friends actually starts not in the desert, but in the water, at a yacht. All right. So there's three locations for this. The yacht is Act One, where Amber, again played by Helena Howard, she sees her ex or a former lover hooking up with some other girl, and she wants to make her ex jealous. So she tries to hook up and make out with another guy. And what happens is she's just trying to make her ex jealous. And when she tells the guy she's making out with she wants to stop, the guy won't stop, and he sexually assaults her. What happens with a sexual assault, understandably so, is Amber is throughout the rest of the narrative is in a heightened state because of her trauma. All right. So we go from that trauma of that assault on the yacht. It moves to these different locations with her and her friends. They're partying, they're taking Molly, they're taking shots. All of these things should be fine because they're just young people and they're having a good time. The only problem is there may be some toxic human beings, toxic males out there out to take advantage of them and possibly do even worse. And that is the premise of Find Your Friends. It's a revenge. It's not a spoiler because I've read, it says it's a revenge thriller. Okay.
I mean, given when that starts to happen, it is a spoiler because that doesn't happen till like.
I know. Yeah. But that's the premise of Find Your Friends. I know. I know you're right.
I got you. And that therein lies my main issue with this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, here's the thing, Eric, and we're not arguing about this, but here it goes, quote, as past wounds and present dangers collide in a night that turns their trip into a revenge-fueled nightmare. 93 minutes, written and directed by Isabel Pascad, streaming on Shudder, June 12th. Eric Holmes is correct. I'm going to let Eric Holmes continue with his review of Find Your Friends.
Yeah, so there's a good movie in here. As it is, I don't think the movie's particularly that great because like all the stuff you mentioned, like with the main character being
Amber.
Amber being like start making out and then he wants to have sex and she doesn't, get off me, and then he's freaking out and then she's freaking out, rightfully so. Then the girls just keep partying some more. They start partying on the yacht, then they start partying at this rave thing. And then they're, like you said, at the place at Joshua Tree. They start partying there. The neighbor gets angry with them for having the music up too loud. It was, oh, cool. But something's going on. Maybe it's going to be something between them and the neighbor. No, that goes away. And then they're partying some more. They're at another party and she's making out with some other guy, and then she doesn't want to make out with him anymore. And then he's fine, leave. And then it feels like a hangout movie until about, I'd say 50 minutes into the movie where that revenge thing finally doesn't even happen yet, but it finally starts becoming that. The movie is no longer the girls hanging out and then doing drugs, having sex, or not wanting to have sex or whatever. By the time the movie got to the point, I already checked out because you got like Dazed and Confused. There's not much of a story there. You just got a bunch of people doing drugs and hanging out, but you got a bunch of different characters and they're fun. Like all the characters in this are very similar to each other. They're basically defined by that's the blonde one. Oh, that's the dark-haired one. That there's nothing about their characters that differentiates them too much. It's just kind of whatever. By the time Amber is walking home, again, this is like 50 minutes, almost an hour into the movie. There's a half hour left. Amber's walking home, and there's like a truck pulls up. Hey, you need a ride? My boyfriend's going to be here. I don't think you have a boyfriend. I think you need to get in the truck now. Go on, get. That's her thing. She runs away. And then that's when the movie becomes the movie that you described at the beginning of this. And that's the last half hour of the movie. We had to watch an hour of nothing before getting to that point. So I would say the last half hour, like this is a good half hour short, decent half hour short. There's a cool car wreck that happened. When that happened, I was like, oh wow, that's probably the coolest thing that happened in this movie so far. There's a little bit of violence when it comes to the revenge portion of it, when the women get the upper hand and they start fighting back a little bit. But it's I don't know. This is just I think it's too lopsided. They spent too much time with the girls hanging out with characters that aren't really well defined and certainly not that interesting. And by the time they get to the revenge part, the part that's on the tin, the reason you would come to watch this, by the time it gets there, we're done.
Mm.
Cool, but too little, too late. And I just did not like this at all.
Wow. Well, I think you and I differ on a couple of things, but I think we're on the same wavelength when it comes to certain things as well. I don't think I think a lot of stuff happens within the first 50 minutes within the framework of the Amber sexual assault, and it's locked in on her psychology and her mental, just her mental. The first 50 minutes, I found
Yeah.
that to be interesting and almost interesting enough because she's becoming unhinged, understandably so, because of what happened. But then some of the stuff that a lot of people are saying, you're being irrational, you are being unhinged. What are you talking about? She has every
Yeah.
right to be, and then maybe she's not. Maybe what she's being distressed over has some substance to it. Found that dynamic interesting, but to Eric's point, the characters in Find Your Friends are paper thin, and for us to really feel for any of these characters, you need some flesh amidst their bones. These are bones of characters. They are not, I
Yeah.
don't even think they're bones of characters. There's nothing to stand on them. Maybe they're ashes. All of them are ashes on the desert. It didn't really feel anything.
I would say regarding how her friends react to when she's, hey, he was trying to have sex with me and I want nothing to do with him. You could say something about like how her friends are reacting to that, but unfortunately, and I think it comes down to the writing, these characters do a piss poor job communicating that to each other.
Yeah. Oh, and
They would just freak out and then assume someone just understands what it is they're talking about. So there's a way that you can write that and explain clearly what just happened. And then someone hears that and says, well, I don't believe you, and you're probably a slut anyway, and blah, blah, blah. And then now you can have that dynamic and it totally makes sense. Here, it's just Amber's kind of just freaking out, not given like their friends are like, what happened? And you should just, I went, and then just leaves. You can't do anything. You can't do anything with that. It's just a bunch of babble. And on top of that, there's an hour that they could explore that, and they really don't. They're just scenes where Amber's getting angry well, the first time it seems legitimate. The second time it seems, unless I read the scene wrong, it looks like her and that rock star guy were making out, and then she just started freaking out for no reason.
because yeah,
It's like,
well,
I don't
I
want
don't
to
want to
do
get
it. He's
spoilers.
like, yeah, fine, leave. I don't care. And then
Right. Because
her
she was
friend,
triggered. She was triggered.
her friends are there, and they're like, what even happened? And she's running off, and
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. If it was trying to make a point there, I don't think it landed.
Yeah.
And so you got the exciting revenge part that took too long to get there. So by the time it got there, I didn't care. And then all the social stuff and the friendship dynamic and how they weren't there for her, that didn't even land too because it was just
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know. Yeah,
it didn't work for me. It didn't work
I
for me.
can't get behind this movie at all.
No,
There's just
I
nothing
will
here.
say there is the
Well,
third.
there's something here. It's just not done well.
Right. Well, okay, no. The third act, when things happen, I really enjoyed that. That there are things that
Oh
happen
yeah.
within the third act that I really loved. And then the neighbor is a character actor. I don't know. I've seen him in a bunch of movies. I'm not going to say what part he plays within the ultimate framework of Find Your Friends.
It was the turn it down.
neighbor, but he's in
turn it down. You kids come out here with your parents' money and blah blah blah, and you
he's
just
good. Well, the reason why he's good is I've seen him in other things that I really loved him in, so it was nice to see him again. I'm not going to say what happens or how he plays. It was good to see him. Let's just say that. So there are
Chris
some
Bauer.
Chris Bauer. So there are some positive elements to this. And the lead, Helena Howard, with what she was given, she does a solid enough job because she has to run the gamut of this mental anguish throughout Find Your Friends. But like Eric says, the revenge stuff doesn't get in. Eric was generous. He said 50 minutes. I clocked in at almost 60 minutes where the tension doesn't even start. Okay, so we're here seeing
Yeah.
a bunch of young girls partying, doing drugs, taking Molly, taking shots, and it just feels so repetitive that it was a slog to get through. And I understand what the director, written and directed by Isabel Pascal, was going for, talking about these women and they're partying and they're really best friends, and there's a sudden turn, a fracture in the relationship even before the revenge stuff happens. I get all of that stuff. It just did not. Eric was saying there is a good movie in Find Your Friends. I just wanted more tension. They should have gotten to the revenge stuff a lot quicker and cleaner. And then the exposition, the writing should have been tighter amongst the friends so we actually care what's going on. My rating for Find Your Friends, just because of that final act, there is some really good stuff that happens. I'm giving it a generous 2.5 out of 5 stars for Find Your Friends. What about you, Eric?
Yeah, it's the same thing. The last half hour and the
Right. Yeah, there's stuff that happened.
that car crash that came out of nowhere, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it 2 stars. There's some good stuff, and there is a good movie in here. This just wasn't it. I think
Yeah.
even that first hour really get in when writing those characters, really get inside their heads, make the characters pop, make them have some personality, some you know
It
the
was just, yeah.
Lola. Which one's Lola? I don't know, don't care. Lavina, but Amber, I guess they're the main character. Cool. Like that, the characters are so interchangeable. And then if you're telling that story of one of them kind of feeling ostracized by their friend group because they're being abused and their friends do nothing about it, that's tell that story. That's a great story to tell. And then maybe it comes to a head where they spend so much time just, oh, why you gotta be a wet blanket? We just want to party and blah blah blah. And they don't listen to their friend. And what happens at the end? The stuff that happens the hour in, like that's all works or could work, just didn't in this movie because I think there's just the characters, the writing, they just didn't pull it off.
Yeah.
There was like you said, there's some great parts in the last half hour, but
Mhm.
man, it's a slog to get to that.
Right. So that is Eric Holmes, 2 stars for Find Your Friends. I gave it 2.5 out of 5. And that is our review for Find Your Friends hitting Shudder on Friday, June 12th. If you have a different review or reaction to this movie, hit us up. Tell us what you think.
Oh,
We are
real quick, just so I don't get yelled at. This wasn't like part 5 of a Mobile Suit Gundam movie. Actually, it needed to read 3 books
Oh,
and two
exactly.
comic
Oh,
books
that's
and a bunch of
hilarious.
TVs.
The YouTube commentators, I think they treated us fair on that Mobile Suit Gun. That was so cool. I'm so glad. By the way, check it out on Eric's review, Eric and my review of Mobile Suit Gundam. I don't forget what installment it was. It's on our CinemAddicts YouTube channel. Also, please support us on our YouTube channel. We are getting closer to 1,000 subscribers. So once we get to 1,000 subs and 4,000 watch hours, that channel will get monetized. That's a really cool thing. And also, a great reason why to check out our Cinematics YouTube channel is our podcast is commercial free, just like our Patreon. So ad free. All right. That is it for the features for Cinematics. We have a couple of reviews from Eric Holmes before we get to Bruce Purkey. First up is a short that Eric Holmes has seen a lot of shorts, by the way, but this is one short that is coming up very quickly called Mon Taxi. Eric Holmes, take it away with your review of this short.
Yeah, so this short is called Mon Taxi by Miriam Sekruhi. And I think this was playing at the Tribeca Film Festival. I'm not sure when it releases because shorts they did for every feature film that plays a film festival that disappears. You can imagine how many of those shorts never see the light of the day, or if they do, they go out with the low fanfare. But this one's really good. It's basically
Saturday, June
Miriam.
13th. Saturday, June 13th, there's an
Yeah,
encore screening. It's good. We'll
yeah.
leave a link.
But even after the screenings, like when shorts come out, they don't usually take off. They're kind of, if you know where to find them, you can find them. But if you come across Mon Taxi, definitely check it out. Miriam, her father passed away, and actually, this probably would have been great to start with this after talking about Mitch today. But her father passed away, and she found himself calling her dad on accident once. And she was just so used to calling her dad, and then one day she's like decided to call her dad and talk, oh, he's dead, but I'll leave a message, call him, leave a message about what's going on. And so the short is about 8 minutes long. It's just a couple select messages that she left her dad. And then they like recreate. She's driving around in New York, I think, and these recreate some of the scenes. And it's really sweet. The way it's presented is sort of just you hear someone on an answering machine talking, so it's not quite sure what it is. Not till then when they mention that her dad passed away and what she was doing. It's like, oh, that's really sweet. And then you go watch it again, kind of. They tell you right at the beginning, but I'm dense, so I don't pick things up right away. But I went and watched it a second time, and it was even more sweet watching it. So if you get a chance to check it out, do so. Miriam also has on a short called Inner Selves. Before interviewing her, I went and checked out Inner Selves. Check out Inner Selves. That is on like Daily Motion. If you go on Google and Google it, that one you can actually watch. I won't say too much about that other than it's
Did you like it?
I liked it a lot. Yeah, they're incredibly talented. The Mon Taxi short is really good. The Inner Selves is completely completely 180 different tone and vibe, but it's really clever and well done. And I look forward to seeing what she has in the future as far as full length, feature length movies. She is quite good. Mon Taxi, I'd probably give that 4.5.
4.5 stars from
I,
Eric Holmes for Mon Taxi. Eight
yeah,
minute short. And it's going to be in
yeah.
Tribeca, June 13th,
I,
Saturday.
I wonder, like, just watching her shorts, it's hard to say because, like, shorts and feature lengths are a little different to pull off, but we could easily have another Maddie Doe situation with her.
Very, very good. And I will be uploading Eric's interview with, what is the name of the director again? Miriam Sakruk?
So I,
Sakrugi? Okay, Sakruk. So, okay.
I think I said it. I think I said it correctly in the interview after I
Okay.
asked them, and then I've
Okay.
said it incorrectly ever since because my brain sucks.
Okay, that is Mon Taxi. And again, go to our Cinemax YouTube channel for Eric's interview with Miriam and some more insights on Mon Taxi. And I'll also leave a link where you can check out that short as well as the previous short from Daily Motion. What was the name of that short again, Eric? Inner Selves or something?
Inner Selves.
Inner
Yes.
Selves. Okay, so we'll make sure to leave that on our podcast notes as well. Great job on that from Mon Taxi. Last but not least, this is a last minute edition from Eric Holmes. I'm excited. The movie is called Ricky, and it's headlined by Stefan James. I think just a great leading actor. Before we started recording, Eric was reading a whole litany of Stefan James's previous work. He is just, I think, one of the more underrated actors in cinema today. I don't know if you agree with me. He has a great list. Beale Street Could Talk. I'm trying to think. He was in Race. He was on a TV series with
21
Julia Roberts.
Bridges, National Champions. By the way, National Champions.
Awesome.
If you've never seen National Champions, go watch that movie. It's so
He's a
good.
co-lead in National Champions, and then he was in a TV series with Julia Roberts, the first Homecoming. Really good. He was really good in Homecoming. He's just a great actor. Eric, I'm taking up your time. Ricky, he's the headliner. What's the movie about? Does it work for you?
Oh, we're taking my time talking about how good Stefan James is.
Oh, okay.
Take more of it because he's great. He's absolutely great in this too. Ricardo Smith is out of prison. He went to prison for 15 years, like when he was like a teenager. They get into why he was there and sort of what happened. They don't go into great detail, but enough detail that as the movie goes on, you can piece together what he did to make it into prison. But he gets out and he's got to, this is a movie you've seen a couple times, but he's got his parole officer. He's got to hold down this job. He's trying to do all the things he needs to do, but things keep falling apart for him, either due to circumstances or whatever. But when you're on parole, you're under a microscope. So if anything goes wrong, it's easy for stuff to snowball. And by the way, none of this goes wrong as a result of he's getting back in the drug game or he's getting back into He's trying to keep this all straight, but just life gets in the way. And luckily, his parole officer is not easy on him, but you can tell that you got to do your stuff. And I'm not going to take excuses from you, but I'll help you where I can. But you need to do the work. You need to do this. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to jump on your ass for it. But all kind of one dimensional. All the characters in this thing sing. The way they interact, the motivations, like everything about them just makes sense and lines up. And I don't know what else I want to say about this
That's fair.
because the story wise it's pretty simple and it comes to a head when the movie does, but the movie's out now. This would be an example of a story you've seen 1,000 times, and this is a really good version of that. And so
Okay. And it's
I,
so
I will
Ricky.
I will say there were a couple times I wanted to pull my hair out. There's a couple
Hmm.
of times I wanted to reach through the screen, choke the crap out of someone, smack them around a bit. So that I was definitely triggered more than a few times in this. And there's a message here. I don't know if this was a message intended by was written by Rashad Fett and co-written by Lin Kui Ayong. I'm not sure how to pronounce that second one, but I think there's a takeaway from this movie that I got from it. I don't know if it was intentional, but I certainly pulled it from it. And I would have to talk about the ending to get more into that. But it's out now. Maybe you or Bruce could watch this one and we talk more about it next week. But this one's the I'm probably going 5 stars on this. Debating
Hmm.
between 4.5 and 5, but I'll just go 5 because this is one of those, yeah, again, tale as old as time, unfortunately, but this is a really well done version of it.
Ricky is the winner of the U.S. Dramatic Directing Award at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. So it has
There you
awards
go.
stuff behind it. It co-stars Titus Welliver and Cheryl Lee Ralph. Again, headlined by Stefan James. That is Ricky. 5 stars from Eric Holmes. Eric, it sounds like a cinematic gem. One of these
Yeah.
gems that we found, right? Correct? Because it's
So I got this one. I got this one last minute because I did the interview earlier today. That'll probably be out pretty soon. Not for Ricky, but I did another interview, and the PR lady sent me this. It was like, I know it's last minute, but maybe you can review it this week. Do so. If not, maybe do it next week. And I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out. I put on because I woke up pretty early, so I wanted to pass back out. So I put it on, thinking I'd watch 10 minutes of it, and I was just like, nope, we're in. We're watching the whole damn thing. So,
that is awesome,
yeah,
actually.
this was like one of those things where I could have got some sleep, but darn it, the movie's just too good. Not going to happen today.
That is, see, Eric Holmes did some extra credit for this week, and the winner of that extra credit is you guys because if
It's me because I got to watch the movie.
oh, okay, that's very good. And hopefully you guys as well get to see Ricky. Tell us what you think about it. I think that's it before we get to Bruce Purkey. You want to say anything before we leave? Hey, you know what? Join us on our Cinema Facebook Movie Club, CinemAddicts Facebook group. That's how you get into our movie club. The links are on our show notes. Again, going back to what I was saying about William Lindus and Mitch Burns, I, s- I've been doing movie stuff since 92, and it's great to have rest in peace to both of them, but they teach me that community is a really big part of the cinematics experience. And I venture to say, I think Bruce and Eric already knew this when we were starting Movie Mainline, which eventually turned to Find Your Film, that as great as movies are and watching a ton of movies and rating a bunch of movies, the biggest thing is, to be honest, sharing it with other people. I know it's very sappy, but people like William, especially William Lindus and Mitch Burns, have taught me such, but love them both. All right, Eric, what do you want to say before we're out of here?
Yeah, won't really review it, but Backrooms really good. Go check it out. But as far as
How dare
movies,
you not
yeah,
review Backrooms? We should have just reviewed Backrooms. That would have made us the most money on cinematics. What do you and I are going
that's
against the
fine.
grain. We're making pennies in all these little
No,
movies.
I'll talk more about Backrooms next week because I got that and I got Coda. I also saw Coda Misconduct. That's
Okay.
also streaming. So go find both those. They're
Okay,
both good movies. I'll
where's
talk more about them next week.
Code of Misconduct? Where is it streaming at? Do you know?
Oh, I
Oh,
do not remember.
did you get a link for that or something? Or
No, I just came across it.
oh, okay, well, Eric's going to be talking about Code of Misconduct next week, and then also that'll be
Fubo,
Fubo. Okay, very good.
Fubo, Amazon Prime.
All right.
Yeah, I can't remember where I saw it. I just saw Code of Misconduct. Oh, trial, I'm in. And then I clicked on it and then watched it.
No, okay.
But I'll talk more about that next week. But yeah, as far as William and Mitch go, obviously gonna miss them. And regarding Mitch and my brother Steve, if you're feeling away, talk to someone. Didn't work for that. I think I had this conversation with Mitch after my brother died, and I was like, "Look, if you're feeling away, hit me up." He never did, so I don't expect you to, but just people will
Yeah.
miss you when you go. You
Um,
may you may not feel that way, or it may even be a situation when you're in a lot of pain. But also, if you're in a lot of pain, sometimes talking to people makes it feel better.
yeah.
Don't feel weak. Don't feel that you can't do it. Don't feel that, hell, hamslime@gmail.com. Hit me up. Hit me up on Facebook. Now, I might be at work because I'm sure as crap not going to look at my phone anymore while I'm at work. But after I'm done, I will hit you back.
If you want to contact Eric Holmes for just movies or insights or just to talk to him,
Yeah.
hamslime@gmail.com. My only request is make sure you find out when his work hours are and then blow up his email. How's that?
I will say, if you hit me up and I don't hit you back immediately, I'm working, but hold that thought
Hold
until I
that
get
thought.
back to you. And then we can talk about it. We can talk about it later.
All right.
But
All right, guys.
yeah.
Thank you guys
Or,
so
or
much.
or you got family, you have friends.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people you can talk to. There's a lot of people that love you. There's a lot of people that want you around. And I know depression is a disease. It's not a situation of get happy, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's every
exactly.
bit of disease is heart disease, every bit of disease is cancer. It's the thing that affects your mind, and your mind is telling you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise tell yourself to do. And so I understand all that. But if you can find that little window of time where the depression's not taking over, don't hesitate. Got that phone, call someone, because that little bit of time that you have to do that might be fleeting, and that might be just enough time for you to go and do something that you probably shouldn't be doing.
100%. All right. Yeah.
Love you all. Love you all.
Thank you guys. Love you all. And yeah, there's no other way to this transition is by the way, Bruce Purkey has some really interesting insights and wonderful insights on William Lindus and Mitch Burns coming up, along with a bunch of movie reviews, obviously. But if you want to learn more about these two wonderful people, give a listen to Bruce over at The Cinematic.
Welcome to The Cinematic, the attic of cinema. And before I get into some movies for this week, I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple people we lost in the cinematics universe since I was last here. I guess in the last 2 weeks, because right after I recorded the last regular show, we had heard that we lost William Lindus, and he had been suffering with cancer. And even though we'd say like a long battle or whatever, it still seemed shocking and surprising, maybe just because his personality was such that he would always at least put on the mostly positive face to everything. And within 3 days of him passing, I had been texting him about new music and things, which is the way I think a lot of people online like myself who knew him and felt like we were friends with him, even if we hadn't met him, interacted. A lot of us interacted with things like favorite movies or movie suggestions or discussing movies, or we talked about music, because both of those things were really big. He was also really big into gaming and loved animals. I am very bad about posting lots and lots of pictures of our pets, and I unabashedly do that. And he was in a similar camp in that he would post lots of pictures of himself with his dogs, and I always liked seeing those as well. And it was really sad to hear that he had gone. Like I said, it still had a shock to it. I don't know, you could always count on him to bring the most interesting and awesome movies to us, often 6 months or a year early. He was constantly going to festivals and seeing movies. Jealously, I was hearing about movies that he got to see way before we did, but I also would put it on my radar. If there were certain movies that he highly touted that were upcoming, you kind of pretty much could count on the fact that it was going to be a pretty amazing movie in almost every aspect. Just a wonderful person. From all accounts, he was a fantastic person in real life as well. Didn't hear anybody ever say a bad thing about William Lindus, and he is very missed. I have a movie I talk about this week, All That Jazz. I will mention briefly. That was one of his favorite movies according to his Letterboxd, one of his top 4 At least that was there when he passed. That was one of his top 4. So I'll briefly discuss my reactions to rewatching that movie 40 years later or whatever it is now. But we all really miss William Lindus. Greg and Eric both did a great job of talking about him and his effect on us here, how he was there at the very beginning of us starting a offshoot podcast. I would say it was one of the first cinematic kind of Film Vault cinematic spin-off podcasts from a bunch of fans, basically, except for Greg hopping in, giving us legitimacy. And William was early on in the planning stages of that as well, even though he didn't end up on the podcast. Also, he brought some movies and filmmakers I never would have heard of, and that was another huge thing he did. Specifically, I'm thinking of Maddie Doe in The Long Walk and her films. That was something he brought to us. For myself, he brought things like The Duke of Burgundy, and he also brought Dogs Don't Wear Pants. Just movies I never, ever would have probably heard of. I might still never heard of them if it hadn't been for William Lindus. So he was amazing in that way. I remember early on having a really long one-on-one conversation with him, which I loved having and was really fantastic, and several other online conversations throughout the years. So once again, we really missed. I fully thought I would at some point meet him in my life. Maybe it was later. It's hard for me to get anywhere as well for family health issues. So I can't really travel much at all. And I wasn't expecting him to come out here, but I figured someday I would have an excuse, or I would have the ability to go maybe to Fantastic Fest or something. And I just assumed he would be there. And I guess that's the way life is. You can't assume someone's going to be there necessarily for a future plan. So if you have a chance to see them now, or connect with them now, or tell them what you think of them and how much you love them now, that kind of thing, then probably need to do that. And then the other person we lost, yesterday, 2 days ago, just happened, was Mitch Burns. And that really was a shock out of the blue. William Lindus, at least we knew he was really seriously ill. I think we fooled ourselves into thinking that he was going to be here longer than he was. Mitch Burns is another deal where very shocking, but also there were signs. He struggled for quite a while with, I don't want to diagnose him, but what he would say is that he'd struggled a lot with various mental health issues. Specifically, I think he had a lot of anxiety and depression and various forms of those ailments. And he was pretty open about it. And I think it's really tough when you're in this kind of online world where you have a community, quote unquote community online. People, like I said, you feel like you're friends with them, you connect with them in all these different ways. But when you're in the world of loving movies, it might feel like you have a whole bunch of friends. But I feel like a lot of people who are really into movies are also people who don't necessarily connect in a personal one-to-one level in that real world. We like to empathize through these different worlds that are in movies. We experience the world a lot of times that way. We, in a lot of ways, are still isolated. So in that sense, sometimes there may be this feeling of community, but also some pretty big sense of loneliness for a lot of the people that are on here. And I know that Mitch had reached out to certain people, and I'm really glad he did. You just always look back in hindsight. Was there a moment I could have? I think a lot of us do that kind of a thing, which doesn't help either. It's just, all I could say is if you are wanting to reach out to somebody, reach out to one of us. We're out here too. We will talk to people. I know I will talk to people. Not that I'm going to have anything that's going to make a difference, but you never know. Sometimes just being able to talk to another person is what you need. You never know. You never know. Mitch was awesome, as all of you out there know, but if you didn't know, he was a huge fan of Film Vault, to the point that when he started his own podcast about movie making and movies and everything, he also did an offshoot podcast called The Film Vaulters, where his concept was to talk to people who are huge fans of the Film Vault. So he did that for a while. I know I was on there. I think Greg had been invited, but hadn't got on there yet. Eric was on there. Pretty much a lot of the friends that we know out there, and Pete Abate, I'm pretty sure was on there as well. A lot of us were on there from different podcasts in our own little community here. And he was always just super friendly, super excited about movies and excited just about, and he had just, I don't know, he loved his kids. You knew that especially. And he loved just all kinds of movies, which I appreciate too. Like, not some people like me can be this. I like things that I think are just dumb entertainment, but I also sometimes might be a little bit too highfalutin for myself. Whereas he was just like, you know what, my favorite movies are Jurassic Park and Alien and all this kind of stuff, and I'm going to love the new next to Alien movie, new Jurassic Park movie. I'm going to keep trying to love them because they might still be good. And Mitch would just go on like that, and it was awesome. He also helped the Film Vault for quite a few years. He did the Flick Fashions, if I remember correctly. He did that for years and years until he backed away from that, probably just getting overwhelmed by the extra responsibility. And I remember Mitch, I think, and Eric and Greg can correct me on this, but I think he was one of the first people to reach out to us when we had our podcast going and just really encourage us and give us some super kind words offline. And I always thought that was pretty great from him. And great feedback to get. Hey, there's sometimes when you're doing this, you're like, I'm just doing this to a microphone and no one else is listening, which, hey, that's fine too. But at least there was one other person out there in Mitch Burns that we knew was listening and giving us some feedback and giving us kind of encouragement in that front. It's weird too. I look back on both Mitch and William. And one of the things that's really eerie and haunting, I don't know how you guys experience this, but I had a tendency to like, when did I last contact them? When did I last discuss them? William, 3 days before he had passed, I had suggested to him this album that I came across, and I thought I really liked it. And he had commented back to me, and who knows what he was going through at that point, but he still commented back. And we had a way of doing that, just suggesting music to each other. And if we didn't like it, that was no big deal, but we both knew that we loved music and we had pretty similar tastes, and that would just be how it would go. On the other hand, with Mitch, we had been doing in the movie club, which that's another thing he did. He started the movie club on page, and that's in the group. That's a really great, just another example of just, hey, let's find another way to connect over movies. Let's all watch some movies every week. And it was very great, inclusive. Everyone could just pick what they wanted. If you couldn't make it that week, no big deal. But if you did make it, more the merrier, the kind of idea. Not super restrictive. The CinemAddicts group in general, creative, lovers of movies who don't have a lot of toxicity. It's just, let's just talk about the stuff and enjoy it together. And he had actually, 3 days ago, been posting about watching all that jazz himself because of William Lindus passing. And I just found that really terrible and tragic to see that post from 3 or 4 days ago. And he's talking about being inspired to have watched something because of William Lindus. And now we're doing the same thing for Mitch. So hopefully this is the last one of these we have for a while. Other cinematic people out there, if you're struggling or having a hard time, hopefully you can find somebody or something to help you in those moments. And whether it's another one of us online to talk with or a person in your real life or whatever it might be, hopefully you find that peace. So that's what we have to say. I keep saying we, it's myself. I know Greg and Eric are with me here, but I'm sad to see both Mitch and William go, but they are here with us. Here I go again. They're here with me. I'm going to, when I think of certain movies and I see certain movies, I will always think of one or the other, if not both of them. I think in the next week, I'm going to be rewatching the original Alien, which I know is one of his favorite all-time movies. It's also one of my favorite all-time movies, which we connected over that as well. So I'll be doing that. And there's something else I was going to say. I don't know what it is. I lost my train of thought. We miss you both. And hopefully no more of this for a while. This has been a rough year, along with Eric's brother. Oh my gosh, terrible year. All right. There is no good transition. I guess I have to go into some movies for the week. This week, I have to look. I forgot what I was going to do this week. I'm going to go pretty quick because I want to go on and on. I've got, like I said, all that jazz. I'll quickly talk about my rewatch of that for William Lindus. I also caught up with Hokum by Damien McCarthy. I saw the restoration of Amores Perros. And then I saw the new RuPaul movie, Stop That Train. All right, so let's get into, I'm going to do Amores Perros and Stop That Train first. Stop That Train. It's a RuPaul movie, so What are you going to do? Pretty heavy stuff we've had this week. So if you want something super light and super not heavy, and you don't have to think a lot about it, this might be the perfect movie for you. Stop That Train. Oh, it's all exclamation points. Stop That Train. Directed by Adam Shankman. Here's the cast. Well, of course, RuPaul's in there as the president, I forgot to write the name, Gagwell, I think it is. Amber. So you get the three A's, Amber, Ashley, and Allie. They're the Mean Girls kind of group. Brock Hayho is Amber, Ashley is Simone, Allie is Marty Lauter. And then our two heroes, or the two heroines, I should say. Tess, played by Ginger Minge, and Dee Dee, played by Jujubee. If you don't know who Ginger Minge and Jujubee are, then you probably aren't regular watchers of RuPaul's Drag Race. And that kind of leads to the basic thing about this movie. This is the definition of a 3-star banger, I think, which is probably where I rate this as a 3-star banger. If you're a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race and you know the kind of skits and things they do as some of their challenges on Drag Race, then you can imagine a full-length movie version of that, and that's what you get here. Lots of jokes, lots of really corny jokes, lots of puns, very bright colors, just silliness and goofiness abounds. This is obviously a parody, so it's a whole universe version of Airplane, or one of those kind of Zucker Brothers movies with the kind of super fast-paced joke a minute kind of stuff going on. The concept here is that you've got Ginger Minge and Jujubee as Dee Dee and Tess as the downtrodden, uncool train hostesses, or what are they going to call it? They're not like stewardesses, which don't even exist anymore. Flight attendants, train attendants, I guess maybe they're train attendants. And they're on a terrible train line. And because they aren't using that, I forget how they even lose their job. Somehow they're not doing that train line anymore. It's some terrible train line that they were on. So they trick their way into getting into the super cool train line, which is the Glamazonian Express. Super bright, super cool. You are in the best of the best train line if you're on the Glamazonian Express. They get in there, and of course, Amber, Ashley, and Allie, the cool girls, don't want to see Dee and Tess, and Dee and Tess have to basically be in coach until a huge storm hits, because like any of those Airplane movies, this train is going headlong into all sorts of disasters. Essentially, they're going into a giant storm, which I really call the storm again, Stormagonza, something like that, if I remember correctly. And it just becomes a cameo-studded, drag queen-studded, goofy adventure of a movie where they go through all sorts of ridiculous threats on this train while they go through all kinds of ridiculous, like, jokes. And it's 90 minutes. It goes super fast. I think that if you are not loving the humor, because it is pretty goofy and it's not always the most funny in the world, but if you're not loving it, there's always something new to watch and something new happening. It's just colorful, bright silliness that I'm down for, because like I said, I'm already a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. This is our comfort watch on TV. We can put on, in fact, it's one of the only reasons we keep Paramount Plus is because on the live TV setting, there's a channel that always is showing some sort of RuPaul content. So pretty much any time of day, if you just want something, I can throw it over there, and we're RuPaul's on. The only negative side I have on this, I guess there's a bunch of AI being used as the exterior shots of the train, which is too bad and unnecessary. They could have found the cheapest animation or the cheapest model train of this Glamazonian Express, and I think any RuPaul fans would have been fine with that, because they're just establishing shots anyway. So the fact that they used AI instead of paying for some artist to create that stuff is really sad. But everything else is just what you'd want from a RuPaul movie. If you want a RuPaul movie, this is your RuPaul movie. If you don't, then this is not for you. But I was enjoying the heck out of it. So Stop That Train, 3-star banger. Not really much else to say. Check it out. Do you have to see it in theater? It really just depends. Do you want to go out and just have a super silly fun time with somebody? Go for it. If you want to wait for it to stream, it'll be a great streamer as well. Also, this week I watched the restoration from 26 years ago, from 2000, of Amores Perros by Alain Inarritu. Inarritu, of course, from, The Revenant, Birdman, or the blah, blah, blah. Babel, 21 Grams. He's done a ton of really big movies, but Amores Perros really kind of is one of the movies that really put him on the map. And it's a movie I'd never seen before. It's one of those movies that's been on my need to watch list forever, because I know it's a really influential movie from the early thousands, late 90s. I wasn't sure the year exactly. I guess it was 2000. I knew it had a lot of huge fans. It had made a big influence at the time. And I finally had a reason to watch it when we had a screener come through for this restoration. The restoration is interesting. I think it's coming out for Mubi, but at the beginning of it, it gives you a bunch of information about the restoration process, and it looked like Criterion had done a lot of the work on it. So maybe Criterion had owned it, done a lot of work on it, and then it got repurchased or finished by Mubi. I'm not sure how that worked exactly, but they obviously took one really clean, pristine prints and got it to 4K level. The sound is just restored as good as they can get it. This movie looks very fresh. It doesn't look super dated. The only things that are so dated about it is there's some super shaky handheld stuff, which is early thousands sort of coded, but not too much of it. And there's a little bit of fashion you'll see in there where you're like, I can tell the era this is from, but overall it looks timeless. I think you could watch it and not notice those things and just be like, this was made in the last 5 years. You wouldn't really know. Let me give you a quick list of some of the people in Amores Perros, which means love is a bitch, according to the translation. El Chivo is played by Emilio. Octavio is played by Gael Garcia Bernal, which is probably the most famous name to most Americans. It's been a ton of things, of course. Susana is played by Vanessa Bausch. Valeria is played by Goya Toledo. And Daniel is played by Alvara Guerrero. There's a whole bunch of other people, of course. This is essentially it's a three-story collection put into one film of sorts. They all do interact, and it isn't. At first, I thought it would be one of those things where you have this major event, which in this case is a car crash, and I thought all the stories would lead up to the car crash, so you'd see one whole story, then the car crash, and then you go back to a whole other story and how they ended up the car crash, and so on and so forth. You do get a little of that, but a lot of this is just some crossover, and then the story also keeps moving forward. So, for example, the first story, which is Octavio and Susana, pretty much starts with the car crash and then shows the whole set of events that led to that car crash. Whereas the next story, which is Daniel and Valeria, that pretty much takes place almost totally after the car crash. Like the effects of the car crash on Valeria and Antonio. And then the third one, which is The Goat, which is El Chivo, The Goat and Mara, that one takes place throughout the whole time span, from before till after, and then eventually you do meet up. You do just follow his story as the final of the three, mostly after the car crash as well. They also all have some sort of a connection to dogs. Like all of the stories have some big plot point revolving around dogs. The first one involves dog fighting, and the warning is that there is a lot of scenes of dog fighting, which can be really disturbing for people. And I did look and read about it because I was really curious, like what was the treatment of dogs in this movie? Because you definitely will worry immediately when you see this movie, like, oh my gosh, did they just kill a bunch of dogs for this movie? Because it looks like they did. And apparently no actual dog fights occurred. They were all simulated with invisible muzzles, and a lot of the times the dogs were playing and they just cut it in a way that made it look more like they were fighting. And anytime you see dead dogs, which is a lot, so be warned on that the dogs were actually sedated. And even that, around the dogs being sedated, it was like overseen by the SPCA, and no dog was sedated for more than a certain amount of time, and none of them were sedated like repeatedly. So they did their best to make it very realistic, but not harmful to the dogs. So I'll give them credit for making good attempts at that, which is a big concern if you watch this movie. So just big giant trigger warning if you're a dog lover. This can be a rough watch. So like I said, the first story, Octavio and Susana, is basically about this guy who uses dogfighting to try to make money because he's trying to escape his life. And that's the Gael Garcia Bernal character. And he is basically in love with his brother's wife, who his brother and his brother's wife live in the same small home with him and with the Octavio character. And Octavio secretly is in love with his brother's wife, who's now pregnant with her second kid. She has a very abusive relationship, and essentially their affair is going to maybe lead to her leaving his brother and coming away with him. If he can just get enough money through this dogfighting, he can escape his life, run away with his brother's wife, and give them both a happy life. That's the basic plot of that first story. And once again, he's going to make this money by dogfighting his brother's dog. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. It's a very gritty story. There's a lot of tension in it. Some really great character work. You really root for certain characters, and it does make some twists and turns that you don't necessarily see coming exactly as they do. Really good story. Then you've got Danielle and Valeria. Once again, Valeria is this huge popular model. She's on billboards and everything. And there's a whole story about how she is affected greatly by her injuries from the car wreck. Because the beginning of the first story, like I said, Octavio Neuber, he's running from some people after a dogfight, and he gets in a big wreck. And one of the cars he wrecks into is the one with this model, Valeria. Her whole life is being beautiful and glamorous and all this stuff. And of course, immediately she's basically down for a long time with huge injuries, especially to her legs. And she has this cute little, like the stereotypical model dog, a little fluffy dog. And it ends up falling into a floorboard hole in their apartment. It gets into the floor, and they can't get to it. And it's down there barking and running around down there, and she's really distraught, but she can't get to it. And the kind of degradation of her relationship with her boyfriend, who has left his wife and family to be with her, the way their relationship degrades, and it's combined with the stress of this dog being lost in the walls that are kind of the floor, essentially, and her loss of all of the things that made her famous and desirable because of her injuries. That's the crux of that whole story. And the final story is, once again, is the goat and Mara, Il Chivo, the goat. He looks like an older, unhappy, with a ton of dogs, and he just wanders around all the scenes in the other stories. And eventually you get his whole backstory and who he is and what he is. And it's very surprising. He's not what you think he is. He's not just well, of course, what do you think anybody is who's unhoused? You don't know. You don't know their story. Every one of them has a story of some sort. It may just be drug abuse and addiction and mental health issues, but it might be something totally different. And in his case, it is something totally different, and I'll let you discover that yourself. But it's an interesting story that I think was going to play out a certain way and ends up playing out very differently. And a kind of a morality play, and a play about, like, how do you go on with your life when you've taken a certain path and it's impacted your relationships irreparably with your children. And is there a way to repair that? Is there a way to make peace with that? And how do you do that? And especially if you've had a very, very subversive, dangerous life, which he's had. So really interesting, cool movie. I can see how it put Inarito on the map. It's got elements that kind of seem a little post-Tarantino, but the style is not that at all. It's much more grounded. He's got a great eye and a great vitality to his filmmaking. I'm going to go 4 stars for it, because as a kind of a compilation of stories, there isn't always, you get so into a certain story, but then it has to end and you go to the next story. Whereas I could have seen maybe 1 or 2 of these becoming full features, and I think it would have been slightly more fulfilling to just have that fully fleshed out story, instead of each of these stories gets maybe 40 minutes, 45 minutes, which are great, but I could have gone for even more for some of them. So 4 stars. Once again, really worth checking out. If you haven't checked it out like myself, you might consider doing that. Okay, that's all the new ones. Let's do a couple older ones here really quick. One of them is Hokum. Hokum is just been in the theater now for about a month or so. It's out there now to check out. Directed by Damien McCarthy, who did Oddity and Caveat. And I was a bit disappointed by Oddity, although I did like it. Everyone was praising it and going crazy over it, and I wanted it to be even better. And Caveat was my favorite, his first film, but I didn't have any expectations for that. So for me, it was like a big surprise when it came out, and I thought it was underrated. I think it still is underrated. I think a lot of people have seen and loved Oddity, but a lot of people have not watched Caveat. So this is his newest movie. Still about a similar budget to Oddity, it feels like. Not hugely bigger than that. It probably did cost more, but it's not. It still feels like one of his movies. So that's good to see. He's still making his own style, his own brand of movie. He's not going crazy into a franchise or something. Once again, this movie stars Adam Scott as Ohm, O-H-M, Bauman. You have Peter Conan as Mal. You have David Wilmot as Jerry, the crazy old coot in the forest. You get one of those characters in a lot of these horror movies. Florence Ordesh is Fiona, and a bunch of other characters, but they're your main ones. The basic concept is it's very Stephen King-esque in a way, in that you've got Ohm, the Adam Scott character, is a author, and he's just about to finish his newest book in a kind of a series of conquistador books, and he's heading out to this Irish hotel, notoriously possibly haunted Irish hotel. They even bank off of the legends of the hauntedness to, I think, get customers. And he's there because his parents went there when they first got married or engaged, and he now has his parents' ashes with him. They're both gone, and he's taking them back to this place to leave the ashes and wrap up his book. The twist to this a little bit is that Ohm is a total a-hole, totally mean to everyone around him, just doesn't have time to really give anything back to a possible fan or even a person just talking to him. He's just a terrible person. And he's just burning bridges everywhere he goes. And this movie kind of starts with him sort of making a little connection with the bartender woman there, Fiona, and getting the lore of this place. And before he has a chance to do much with that connection and lore, he decides, and this is a twist, I guess, or this is a spoiler, I guess. It happens in the first 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. I'll tell you this one little thing. He decides to unalive himself, and he is thwarted in that effort. He is stopped by Fiona, and you basically flash forward to him after he's somewhat healed from that event, and he's still there in Ireland, and Fiona has gone missing. So he now, all of a sudden, his life is different. He has a second chance. He's not necessarily happy about that, but he also is faced with this mystery of this woman that he had been talking with at the time and having all his connections with, told him all the lore about the haunted nature of this hotel. And now he feels drawn to uncover the mystery of what happened to her and where she disappeared to. So I think that I can imagine a lot of people were disappointed by this movie because they had expectations. I think it's secondarily a haunted house movie. I think primarily it's like a mystery. It's like a mystery character discovery thing, and with all the trappings of a haunted house story. But the haunted house story, like I said, is almost secondary to the mystery. It's really almost like a whodunit, what happened to this person, and who are the bad guys and who are the bad people thing. Almost in that way, a very traditional mystery. Now, do I like it as much as Caveat? No. Do I like it as much as Oddity? I think I do. I think this is really on par with Oddity for me, in the sense that compared to Caveat, it maybe is a slight disappointment, but it's a solid mystery, spooky mystery movie with a lot of the things that I do love about Damien McCarthy's filmmaking. And what I mean by that is he's got certain things which are his own personal calling cards. They're on almost his own little tropes. And that is things that he likes in his movies that I've seen so far are he loves figurines or little puppety kind of things. Like in the first one, he has this rabbit that's like the monkey that plays the cymbals. It's like a rabbit that plays the drums. The second one, he has the big wooden doll, sort of whatever that is, golem. And in this one, he's got a few things, like he's got these little figurines that are made out to tell the story of a witch in the area, supposedly. And he's got this use of a bell that's attached to a clock. And when the bell rings for the hour, this little figure hits the bell with a hammer. And that becomes a key figure in this story. There's lots of little physical things that kind of set things out. And there's bells throughout this movie. And that's definitely a piece of this. The other thing he seems to like is he likes not dollhouses in the sense of Wes Anderson, but he likes these kind of clockworky, mysterious buildings. Like all three movies take place in settings where they're in a building that has secret passages and hidden rooms and like hidden doors and not trap doors, but like maybe, I don't know, like wall elevators that lead you places, stuff like that. The trap doors, there's all this kind of stuff where it's very haunted house, like puzzle box coded buildings. And that seems to be something he really loves too. And I really like that as well. I think it's a lot of fun. I think he's still on the edge of making his perfect movie, but this is a solid, hey, I want just a good, creepy, but not too intense, not too hard to figure out, just a good, creepy mystery movie. I think if that's the vibe you're looking for, I think you'll have a lot of fun with Hokum. If you're looking, like I said, for a straight up horror movie that's going to really scare you to death, which I think is how it was sold, I think you might be disappointed. I think the expectation here is going to go a long way to your enjoyment of this movie. And Adam Scott does a great job too here as an unlikable, but yet eventually you root with him character in Hokum. So 3.5 stars for Hokum. And then the last one, is this the last one? I've lost track of how many movies I had here. Sorry, I'm looking at my book here, flipping the pages. Yeah, the last one I've got for you is All That Jazz. Like I talked about before, with William passing, I looked at his top 4 on his letterbox, and I thought, well, which one of these movies do I want to see? He had great movies on there. All of them I think I'd seen, but I'd never seen All That Jazz since, what was it, 79? Yeah, it was 1979 that came out. I must have seen it in around 79 or 80 because I was a teenager. And definitely this is a movie that I think benefits from having some hindsight and some experience in your life, because this is definitely a person, encountering and dealing with kind of the fallout of the choices they've made in their life. And it's not the kind of movie that a teenager's necessarily going to connect to that much. I don't remember hating it at the time. I just remember not really having much of a connection to it. And I feel like this time around, both just having 40 more years almost of life experience, it's almost 50 years, I do the math here, of life experience under my belt, as well as having a whole bunch more movie watching experience under my belt, I was able to really experience this movie anew and really enjoy it and, enjoy what it had to offer. And once again, directed by Bob Fosse, famously of Cabaret. What was the other big ones he's done? Oh, he's done a bunch of other big ones. But Bob Fosse, also really known as a choreographer, famously known as a choreographer, but also a great filmmaker in his own right. Bob Fosse is essentially doing an autobiography of a terrible person's life. So he's basically showing himself to be this horrible person, and he's making it the focus of this very vibrant, kind of a man experiencing his life in hindsight as he knows he's dying, essentially. And in that sense, it's almost like Scrooge to some, like a Christmas Carol, where it's like, hey, this is your life as you're dying, the thing. And it's also one of the most Bob Fosse movies ever. Bob Fosse, it is what I said, I think before. If you know what I mean by that, these kind of put on your top hat, a lot of hat dancing, a lot of sparkly outfits and top hats and tails, kind of, but very 70s and 80s coded, just brassy song and dance numbers. Chicago has a very Bob Fosse feel to it, which I don't think Bob Fosse was involved with Chicago. I could be wrong about that, but Chicago feels very Bob Fosse. Playing the Bob Fosse character, aka Joe Gideon, is Roy Scheider here. Roy Scheider has never been better. I think he got nominated for Academy Award. I don't think he won. Oh, Bob Fosse also did Star 80, if you want to see a crazy good movie that's intense. Jessica Lange plays like his she plays Angelique. There you go. She's basically the angel of death, who he's in dream sequences telling his story to, sort of, as we're going in and out of his reality. Anne Reinking, which you might have seen if you've seen older movies. I certainly have. She plays Kate. You also have Ben Vereen in off moments here, famously a dancer, Broadway dude that you've seen also in Roots. And Sandal Bergman is a dancer in here. She famously was the main woman fighter with Conan in Conan the Barbarian, the original movie. If you've known her, you'd recognize her as the main woman he goes into the battles with. Sandal Bergman's here as a dancer as well. Another thing that really struck me about All That Jazz as I was watching it, there's these continued sequences, almost like scene transitions, where every morning you'll see him get up and he pops pills, he puts eye drops in, he looks at himself in the mirror, he says, what does he say? Oh, I should know this because it's iconic. He says, on with the show or whatever. He's like, showtime. Oh, showtime. He says, showtime. And he's off to the world. And every day he's getting more and more frantic. He's on amphetamines. He's chain smoking. He's working 5 jobs at once. He's trying to choreograph and direct this musical play dance numbers and everything coming up. He's dealing with the multiple affairs he's got going on, and his kid, and his wife, his ex-wife, who he's cheated on forever, but also now she is also a dancer in his play, but maybe she's too old these days, but also she's really good, and this constant pressure from her, and constant pressure from all the affairs he's having. Oh, also he's trying to finish the editing of a film he shot about a comedian, which is similar to Lenny, which is one of the movies he made. So it's like a parody of the own movie he made here. Very meta movie. Like I said, each day of his life starts with this quick little montage, this snap, snap, pills, eye drops, showtime, just get going, running, burning the candle at every end. And it struck me that, boy, oh boy, Requiem for a Dream definitely saw that in its editing style. And people praise Requiem for a Dream for its snappy, crazy editing style and how it was like showing the addiction and the unraveling of their lives. And I'm like, oh yeah, they stole that directly from All That Jazz. All That Jazz had that down. The other thing you got to point about All That Jazz is, at its heart, it's also a bit of a musical, but it's more of a diegetic musical, at least for the first 2/3 of the movie, where it'll be the song and dance number that he's doing for his play, and you'll see that whole number, and it's amazing. And obviously Fosse probably choreographed that number that his character is pretending to do in the movie. Once again, very meta. But you'll see several different song and dance numbers. There's a song and dance number where his steady girlfriend, of his many girlfriends, but his kind of steady girlfriend, which might become his new wife, has a song and dance number with his daughter, and there's a whole connection with his daughter, who's now a teenager. And that's a very interesting and uncomfortable relationship, where it's like she is now able to see him as a man, and she sees what kind of person her father has become. And there's an element of judgment, but she still loves him and he still loves her. But it's like, what is it, kind of example is he setting with his womanizing and his drug use and so on? So she does a song and dance number with the other woman. That's amazing. And then the last third of this movie, or at least the last, 20 minutes or so, 25, is an extended Broadway production song and dance number as he is dying on his deathbed after open heart surgery from a heart attack. And like I said, it's very Scrooge-like almost, where he's being visited by the ghosts of his past as they sing and dance numbers to him. It's the kind of thing that you see parodied in a parody of a musical. But here it's just amazing, because it's the guy who's being criticized and who's dying on screen is the guy who's directing and wrote this movie. So it's such a weird thing. And the experience of watching it for me was really surreal. It's really great, by the way. I think I put 4.5 stars on this. The experience for me was really surreal, because as I'm watching it, I'm also thinking of William Lindus, and I'm thinking how strange it is that one of his favorite movies is this movie about a person experiencing and dealing with their own life as they know they're dying. And it had a really haunting feel to it. And I thought to myself, I wonder how recently William watched this. Was this something he watched when he knew he was getting sicker and sicker? But it didn't look like it. On his letterbox, it said the last time he had watched it was 2020, which I think was before he was diagnosed. I'm sure it was. Maybe he rewatched it again recently and put it on his top 4, or maybe that was just there in the ether. But it had a very odd effect to me watching it in hindsight. A little more profound, I would say, for sure. Even though the person that was on screen was the opposite of William Lindus, a total fallen, debauched person. The idea of a person reviewing their own life as they know they're losing it literally really hit me when I was thinking about William. And then it didn't help that the day after I watched this, I had to go into anesthesia for myself for a procedure. And of course, I started having all these thoughts. I'm going to go in for anesthesia. Who knows? You never know. It didn't end up being a problem at all, but you never know. You always have that thought, that little sneaking thought in the back of your mind. Am I ever waking up from this? Am I just going? So just the idea of seeing all these things at once and all these things being together just gave it a much more haunting feel to me than I probably would have otherwise. But either way, it's a fantastic movie. It's like a time capsule at the same time as Universal, and just a very unusual and odd movie, and a unique movie that I don't think anyone but Bob Fosse could make. It's, like I said, one of the most Bob Fosse things you'll ever see. And if you've never seen Bob Fosse, well, here you go. And I think I will leave it at that. Once again, miss you, Mitch. Miss you, William. Hopefully you guys are both in whatever happy place would be for you, if those places exist. For William, I'm assuming it would have lots of movies and lots of animals, lots of doggies with him. And with Mitch, probably not much different. Probably lots of movies and maybe lots of, I don't know, he liked, I could just see him be like a place where Jurassic Park was real but not dangerous. You can see him out there in that world with all those dinosaurs, but maybe the ones that wouldn't attack him. But I could see him having a great time out there. All right, everybody, that's all I got to say this week. We love Mitch and William and everybody else out there. Hopefully you're taking care of yourselves as well and doing what you need to do to stay healthy. And we will talk at you again next week. Bring you some more movies.